The patriarchy wants us to go after a thriving business, a big fat bank account. And I definitely want you to pursue that, but not at the cost of your family, not at the cost of your social life or the cost of your body. When we integrate all of the different facets of our lives, when we stop seeing them as separate, when we start treating them as separate, they all are an integrated part of your success. See them as different wheels that lock into each other. If one of the wheels is blocked, the rest will get blocked as well.
Welcome to the Astrology as a Strategy podcast. I'm your host, Patricia. I'm on a mission to help you amplify your influence so you can free up time to spend with your family while increasing your revenue. I'm an astrologer, business mentor, an adventure seeker, and a proud mama of 3 kids. Think of this podcast as your shortcut to more joy and ease in your business. Running a business is joyful, and when you're not having fun, you haven't cracked the code yet, but that's about to change. I share practical and short tools how to use astrology in your business and life. So let's get started on using your energy strategically to make a bigger impact, have more free time, and grow your wealth.
How can you use astrology to dismantle the patriarchy? That's a question I want to dissect in this episode. Astrology can be yet another tool in your toolbox to fight the patriarchy. Now, there are many layers to this, but I really want to look at it through the lens of your business. Now, if you're thinking, I'm not interested in fighting anything, just hear me out. Because the patriarchy is not a few men deciding your future. It is present within you, in your DNA, in your lineage. And dismantling it is really reclaiming your power, reclaiming your worthiness, so you can do the things that you desire. In this episode, I want to take you on a journey through the history of astrology and how it can serve you today. Because astrology, like a lot of things in our society, is really drenched in the patriarchal principles. Right now, it is really going through a facelift. Astrology is really starting to get redefined and it is being shifted. A lot of it is based on the toxic masculine principles. It wants to put things in boxes. It's either good or bad, or positive or negative. And this is where I want to challenge you to start changing your mindset. Before we dive into how it serves you today, I want to give you a short overview of the history of astrology, because that will help you to understand why so much of the astrology that we practice nowadays is based on what happened thousands of years ago. Now, I won't go into all of the details, but I just wanted to give you this overview. As early as 25,000 years ago, they found that people were already studying the sky. It's really a natural part of human experience to trying to find meaning in the sky. Because at that time, there was no electricity, there were no distractions, so the only thing they could do was study the sky, study the movements of the planets. The Babylonians really started to document the cycles of the planets. From Babylonian, it spread to Greece, to Egypt, and they really started to develop it more and more and more. The idea of the horoscopes was born in Alexandria. It was really the intellectual center of the ancient world. In the 2nd century, it became really popular in Rome by the emperors and rulers. And this is something I want you to take note of. It was an art that was created by men for men. They used it to study what was going on and how to predict, for instance, how a battle could play out. They would pick the best time to go into a battle. They would pick the best time to do negotiations. It was very much based on manipulation rather than serving their people. So that's really where it started to grow from the emperors and the rulers, to see how they can kind of manipulate the people instead of trying to serve them. Now, after the collapse of Rome, it was really kept alive by Islamic scholars. When we think about Western astrology, it is something that is often overlooked, that actually the Islamic tradition kept this alive. Later, it got translated into Latin and it found its way to Europe in the 12th century. Now, in the medieval and the Renaissance, it's really a high point for astrology. Almost every court had an astrologer, even the Pope had one, and it was taught in universities. It was such a normal part of daily life. And astrology and astronomy were one. It was not separate. The study of the planets and the meaning of that study was exactly the same. It wasn't until the Age of Enlightenment when things started to become separate. It shifted the focus to the scientific background of astronomy. Astronomers like Johannes Kepler actually practiced astrology through the lens of astronomy, because for them it was the same. But because of the Age of Enlightenment and because of the development of science, and it got pushed to the background because the idea of science is that you can repeat the same experiment over and over again and get the same results. That proves whether something is correct or not. With astrology, we never ever have the exact same situation in the sky, so that we can actually look back and cross-reference that, yes, this is what happened over and over again. Now, there are aspects that are repeating often. I mean, we have a new moon, we have a full moon every single month. So in that case, yes, we can see that, but it is not exactly the same. And for science, it needs to be exactly the same. All the parameters need to be the same. And therefore, it got pushed to the background because there are so many factors that cannot be measured, that cannot be determined because it changes all the time. Now, fast forward to the 20th century. The astrology that we practice today is very much based on the blend of astrology and psychology. Especially psychiatrists Carl Jung really shaped the way that we practice it based on the theory of archetypes. So in the 20th century, it really started to get a revival, and people were starting to look at astrology in a different way. The astrology that we practice today, adept psychology, which adds theory of human behavior and personal development into it. It's not just the studying of the planets and different cycles. It really addresses the deeper questions about the meaning of life, the purpose of life, and it actually became a very practical tool available for everybody. This is where I want you to pay attention. The reason why I give you this background of astrology is to see how it evolved, but also, if you think back how long people have been using the planets as guides, and only in the past few centuries it has shifted into the manipulation of events, of situations. This is really where we can find the root of the patriarchal principles in astrology. Like I mentioned before, it was created by men for men. Women were not really part of astrology. It's only recently that so many women are coming into the field of astrology that we are starting to shift. The patriarchy disconnected the mind from the body. It disconnected us from truly feeling our body, feeling what things feel like. The chart is a connection between your inner psychology and your outer circumstances. It's really a link. And it encourages you for self-reflection, something that the patriarchy doesn't encourage us because it thrives on keeping us small. And the better you know yourself, the better and the more aligned choices you can make. Astrology empowers you because you know the appropriate time to act, when to rest, when to chart forward. It goes into the different cycles and seasons that will allow you to uplevel and to evolve. In society, we're not necessarily encouraged to go through that self-development, to think for ourselves. Even if you think about the school system and the way it's set up, it's very much set up so you can kind of fit in a box. Astrology teaches you that you don't need a box. You are free to go, free to do whatever you desire. And once you start aligning yourself with that, you make better choices. You make more aligned choices that actually fit what you desire. Astrology can feel like a very mystical practice, but in reality it's actually a simple reflection of the heavens. There is like an over-rationalization that dismisses not just the magic of astrology, but actually the practical application of astrology. I want you to see this as a holistic tool to integrate your inner landscape with your outer reality. And this is where the patriarchal principles in your business come in. A while back, I heard Kate Northrup mention that it's time to take the patriarchy out of your business. Astrology is actually something that can really, really help you with taking the patriarchy out of your business. But how do you do that? One simple thing that I want to tell you, and I've said it many times before, is to rest. Yes, it is really that simple. It is to rest. To allow yourself to go into those different cycles. To allow yourself to understand what is happening. We're really done with the hustle culture. We're really done with no pain, no gain. It doesn't have to be like that. Now, that doesn't mean that you never have to work hard in your life anymore. It doesn't mean that it's all going to be easy breezy from now on. But what it does give you is an understanding. It doesn't have to feel that hard. It doesn't have to be a struggle all the time. I mean, look at nature. They go through seasons. We just accept that. A tree loses its leaves, goes into rest, and then in springtime, it will have leaves again, maybe even flowers and fruit. We accept that, but we don't accept that within ourselves. As an example is the launch of this podcast. Previously, launches have always been a stressor for me. They always put me on edge, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. I couldn't really change it until there was one very simple thing that I embraced, which was to get support. The patriarchy wants us to do everything on our own. There's one saying that always really strikes me is that mothers should raise their children if they don't have a job, and mothers should work like they don't have children. That is really the expectation that is put on women, on mothers. We need to do everything by ourselves. We cannot ask for help. And as women, as caregivers, we are supposed to take care of everybody else and forget our own needs. So what I did in my podcast launch is to ask for support. And some of the things came together really beautifully, and I didn't even have to make an effort to get the support because I knew that this was something that I'm really passionate about. And I really wanted to enjoy the process. In order for me to enjoy the process, I need to get help. I need help with cooking the food. I need help with cleaning the house. I need help with watching the kids a few hours. And the beauty of that is that I had the most relaxed, joyful, and easy launch ever. Also because I was able to shift from this launch is really important, I have to put all of my effort and energy in it, to the actual podcasts are what matters. The launch is amazing, yes. And it definitely helps to build buzz and to get the word out. But the podcast, you who are listening to this podcast, that is really what matters, to be of service. That is what changed it for me. Because what I pictured was you walking outside with your earbuds in, listening to this podcast. Me giving value to you. That was really my focus of this launch. It wasn't about me. And I think we can get so caught up in how the marketing has these toxic messages. This is what you have to have in place for a launch. And this is what you have to do. And you have to work hard. You have to have the funnels. You have to have this and that. And all the things and the bells and whistles. You actually don't. You really, really don't. You'd be surprised. The more you lean back, the more you're having fun, first of all. But also you see that coming back with clients, with the people that you attract. I mean, I'm using the word magical because it feels magical. This is really how nature works. The more we can ease into the situation, the more that we can attract. Taking the patriarchy out of your business revolves around centering yourself, your body, your experience, and it's not more than that. What I mentioned before is astrology is a reflection of your inner landscape with the outer reality. So the more that you can tune into what is happening on the inside and understanding what is happening in the sky and marry the two, that is when you create the shift. That is when you up level, when you reach a new level of consciousness. And astrology is not going to tell you whether something is going to be a success or failure. It is not going to tell you exactly what to do. It's not going to tell you what kind of profession that you should pick. Astrology asks the right questions. It encourages you to look deeper and to reflect. Because the patriarchy doesn't really want us to pause. It doesn't really want us to examine what we have in front of us. And that's exactly why I created this podcast, to give you that reminder that when you follow the astrology, when you bring that into your body, when you feel into the situations, that's when you create success. And with success, I don't necessarily just mean monetary success. I mean, yes, I definitely want you to be financially free, but success is all areas of your life. It's not just the money. To me, and what I teach my clients is success, is being successful, is success in all areas. That means a thriving business. That means a healthy bank account. That also means lots of quality time with your family. That means being able to spend time by yourself. That means that you have a thriving social life. That is what is true success. The patriarchy wants us to go after a thriving business, a big fat bank account. And I definitely want you to pursue that, but not at the cost of your family, not at the cost of your social life or the cost of your body. When we integrate all of the different facets of our lives, when we stop seeing them as separate, when we start treating them as separate, they all are an integrated part of your success. See them as different wheels that lock into each other. If one of the wheels is blocked, the rest will get blocked as well. We need all of your wheels to spin smoothly. And astrology is an amazing tool to help you understand the different wheels, how they spin. Because they don't always spin at the same speed. But remember, they still lock into each other. So even if some of the wheels are spinning slower, they still push the other wheels forward. And as soon as they stop, they also stop the other wheels. It's time to integrate the mind, body, and spirit again. The work that I do with my clients isn't rocket science. It is bringing the outer experience back into the body. Knowing when it is the appropriate time to do what. There are ebbs and flows in our life. There are ebbs and flows in our business. You know that. I'm not telling you anything new. And it's the same with my clients. The moment I tell them what phase they're in astrologically, I've never had a client turn to me and say, "What? No, that's not how I feel." Because you know, and this is the wisdom that you have within you already. We need to embrace that wisdom within us. Because you know what feels good and what doesn't. You know what feels contractive and what feels expansive. And astrology will guide you in allowing yourself to go with that. You don't need to swim against the stream. That's not necessary. This is the time for us, especially as women, to reclaim our desires, to reclaim what we're good at, to reclaim our power so that in return we can give back. The patriarchy teaches us that we have to choose. We have to choose either to be a good mother or a businesswoman. We have to choose to care or we don't care. There's no gray area. But in astrology, there's no good and bad. There's no positive, negative. You can direct the energy in any way possible. If you have a challenging time coming up for you, astrologically, you can choose to see that as an opportunity to be more present at what comes up for you. If there is a really beautiful opportunity period coming up for you, how can you stretch that out? How can you grab that situation with both hands and make it grow even further? When we get stuck in the patriarchal principles, in the systems, it blocks our creativity. But when we allow ourselves to go with these different phases, to go with these different seasons, that's when you truly create the shift. Dismantling the patriarchy is not something that has to be big or outside of ourselves. This is something that starts not just in your home, it starts in your own body. It starts with redefining your relationship with your body, your relationship with your business, your relationship with your family. It shifts everything because you don't have to do all of the things by yourself. Because if you try, do all the things, but do it kind of like with half of your energy, with half of your attention. But what if you can stretch that? Ask for support. Ask for other people to help you out. You will be able to create things beyond your wildest imagination. Because let's face it, we all need support. Let's bring back the community mindset where we help each other, where we support each other, where we lift each other up. Because having support is an essential part of being a business owner. So without it, you will just push and put your nose to the grindstone and you'll actually not create the results that you desire. Dismantling the patriarchy through the lens of astrology is so powerful, and it can be very easy for you to start with. If you haven't listened to episode 1, where I share a 5-minute practice that will change your business and life, that is what helps you to embody the astrology as well as to fight the patriarchy. Because everything is one. As above, so below. Your inner reality reflects your outer reality. Your inner landscape is a reflection of your outer landscape. It is integrated. It's not separate. The more that we can embrace that everything is connected, that everything is in relation with each other, the more that we can feel alive. The patriarchy numbs us out. But this is your permission slip to really feel all the things, to embody all the things. Because you are capable of so much more than you think when you lean into this trust, when you lean into understanding yourself, understanding every fiber of your being, not just with your rational mind, but understanding it on a deep cellular level. That's really my hope for all of you when you think about these patriarchal principles. That you know you can smash them. You know you can fight these. And it all starts within your body.
Thank you so much for listening to the Astrology as a Strategy podcast again. I love to hear your insight from this episode. Screenshot and tag me on Instagram in your stories or on your feed. You will inspire others to have more joy and ease in their business, and I love to see who's listening. One last thing. I love creating free content for you. Would you like to do something in return? Go to iTunes, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps the podcast to be found more easily so this message can reach more people. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you next time.